Alright, people. So somebody asked me to do a rant here on the celebrity obsessed culture. One second. Where did I put my paper? I put my paper somewhere. There it is. Let's see here. It was requested by at Jimmy Jacobs, the number 4, and then VER on Twitter. Again, at Jimmy Jacobs, the number 4, VER on Twitter. So I'm glad I got a requested video here that is non-wrestling. I've been talking about this so much in my time here on YouTube about the culture, the society that doesn't care about anything else other than sports or entertainment or Hollywood bullshit. And it's just frustrating to see people like what Obama does, what Boehner does, what Boner does, what Jeb Bush does, what all these people do, everybody in the White House, what anybody who's in power around the world, what they do affects you greatly. It affects you a lot. And I'm not talking about, just affect you where, they could bring down the whole system, which leads to us becoming a third world country or some shit like that, or us becoming a part of a world government. Even if you don't believe that, they still influence, how good the economy is, which could impact if you're rich or poor. So, you should care very fucking much about who's in office, because they could determine your future. They could determine if you're making 15 grand, 20 grand, or if you're making 80, 90 grand. It really could. Because let's say, you're very advanced with cars or oil, and the government comes in and says, and gets in bed. Let's say you own a small business, you're an oil guy, you're making good money. Your company's doing well, you're putting on a good product here. You're making, 70, 80 grand a month, 90 grand, 100 grand a month, or a year. And you're doing good right there. The gas it's pretty high. And then they just bring down the price like that. And then you go out of business because you can't afford to stay in it. But the big oil companies, they might slightly suffer for a little bit, but then when they jack the price back up, they're the only ones left. They have the monopoly. So that's how who's in office can affect you. So you should really fucking care who's in office. But we don't care. We care more about Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, etc. And again, it's very sad to see people who are just so obsessed in a zombie-like state, just caring about these people like they're gods. And that's like, if you go into a classroom full of children, poor little children, just brainwashed by mainstream media, by Hollywood, they'll talk about things like sports, and girls will talk about fashion, and it's just very, very sad to see. And I like talking about that stuff, don't get me wrong. I could talk about that stuff for a little bit, but can we talk about things in the world that actually matter too? Can we talk about like freedom and liberty and the Constitution? That's what I love talking about. Can we just, it doesn't even have to be about politics either. I always see people arguing about like an issue over healthcare, whether it should be government run or whether, issues like that or welfare or whatever. Let's just have conversations about everybody having freedom and liberty and everybody following the Constitution and the rule of law. Just basic conversations like that. Alright? And let's stop, once we get all that in check, once we have a lawful government, once we have, government that follows the Constitution and promotes liberty and freedom, once we have that, then I guess we can go argue about healthcare and find out what's best for our country. But, and again, but that's not going to happen right now because we have a culture, we have a society that doesn't really give a shit. And the people who do at least try to give a shit, a lot of them are brainwashed by mainstream media or by political leaders like Obama saying, just attracting all these black people to get them to vote for him. So it is sad. Again, most people are either brainwashed by all these celebrities or by politicians or mainstream media figureheads. So there you go, people. Mainstream media sucks. Hollywood, for the most part, sucks. It's a lot of just brainwashing. And the people who don't give a shit about who's in office are really zombie-like and really need to wake the fuck up. So there you go, people.